Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Tennessee's looking to bounce back this Saturday against UTSA. I never thought I would be sitting here going into week 4 of the season saying that this team needs to respond, that the UTSA game is a big game for Josh Heupel and this football team. And look, I know a lot of people say, why are you guys overreacting? It's just one game. It's just one game, Boogie. It's not just one game. Tennessee struggled against Austin Peay, and you were hoping that that was a wake-up call, and this football team would respond against the Gators in the Swamp. They were favored by a touchdown in that game for a reason, but they went down there, they laid an egg, and now we're looking for them to bounce back again. This game coming up on Saturday is big, and look, I know this fan base is kind of divided right now. Everybody's up in arms about the Vols and the Sunshine Pumpers, and they always go head-to-head. One's right, one's wrong. Who's to blame? Who do we blame in this situation? Anytime Tennessee loses a football game, we're looking for somebody to blame. It's always the quarterback, and it's always play calling every single time. But this football team has a bigger problem on their hands. And listening to Vol calls last night, Josh Heupel almost kind of put it out there. We're going to get into it. We're going to listen to his comments and break it down. But as always, do me a favor, smash the thumbs up just below the video. It's quick, free, and easy. It does help the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media. We don't pretend to be media. We're not talking at you here. We are talking with you. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. We are building a community of Tennessee fans right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. If you like it, make sure you subscribe. Click that bell for notifications. You're not going to miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. We'll be live tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. for the morning show with Coach Jay. Make sure you tune in for that. And then on game day, we'll be live an hour before kickoff for a fan call-in show, and then also live immediately following the game. But let's jump into it. Let's take a listen to some of the comments from Vol calls last night. Now, first, Josh Heupel kind of talks about the run game and what went wrong against Florida, because Tennessee ran the football really good against Virginia and Austin Peay. And yes, you got to understand there is a higher level of competition once you get into conference play. But let's take a listen to what Josh Heupel had to say about their run game against Florida.
In the run game, just kind of wrapping it up and moving forward, what did you see? You've run the football well the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Didn't run it as efficiently, I'm sure, in this game. What was it that you saw? What are the things you're looking to correct on some of your efficiency in the run game?
Well, first of all, they're a better opponent than what we had played the first 2 weeks. We knew that going into it. There's some of our combinations, some of our just straight communication up front needs to be better. And when you get all 5 guys in sync, then you have a chance to play cleaner up front, which means your double teams on the first level to the second level, giving your back a chance to get it started. You know, a 2-yard run instead is a 4 or 5, and your 5s or 10s. That's how those things happen. And at some point, you got to create a big run too.
So he asked about the run game, what happened against the Gators. Obviously, again, the competition level's a little higher when you get into SEC play. Tennessee ran the football for 287 yards against Virginia. Jalen Wright had 115, averaged 9.6 yards per carry on the ground. They go play Austin Peay, 228 yards on the ground as a football team. Again, Jalen Wright led the way, 118 yards, 9.1 yards per carry. And then against the Gators, they struggled as a team, 100 yards rushing, averaged as a unit 3.3 yards per carry. They did not run the football very good against Florida. And one of the things, I was listening to the Eric Ainge show earlier in the week on Monday, and something that he talked about was the looks that Florida was giving Tennessee. It's not like they stacked the box and said, beat us over the top. Tennessee just got whipped up front. There were times that you had 5 or 6 on 3, and Tennessee still could not get the blocks done. They couldn't get it done up front, and it's because you're losing some one-on-ones. You're getting whipped up front, whether it be Andrej Carrick or Ollie Lane, whoever. It was somebody different every play, but you couldn't win when you had the matchup that you wanted. That is a huge problem. And, you know, Josh Heupel there talked about communication up front, getting all 5 guys on the same page. Now, one positive we can look at moving forward was in that game, you still don't have Cooper Mace, right, the anchor of your offensive line, but then also everything that went on with Gerald Mincey. But that's a whole different argument. That's a whole different conversation. Is Gerald Mincey going to buy in? Is he going to do what he's supposed to do? You're talking about, you know, JP talked about it on the show last night. It's the day before you travel to go play the Gators on the road, and you're out past curfew, being a knucklehead. Get your head in the game. How bad do you want to play football at Tennessee? But he talks about the line of scrimmage. That concerns me because the offensive line is a problem. I want to take a listen to another question here. This one kind of surprised me that they let this come through on Vol calls because he was asked specifically about the play calling. This one's a couple of minutes long, so bear with me here. We're going to take a listen.
We're great. What's on your mind?
My question is for the coach I was wondering about the side passes. They don't seem very effective. And I was wondering, with our great wide receiver core with Keaton, White, and McCoy about, throwing the ball further downfield for the deep ball and mid passes more.
Yeah, it's not that we haven't gone vertically. Probably haven't hit as high a frequency as we maybe were last year. But I think, there's a balance to everything that you're doing. And how you're trying to put your entire offense in a position to gain some first downs and ultimately go score points. I think it gets really tough if you're just sitting back there dropping back on every down for your guys up front to protect too. And, there's a balance to everything that we're doing. The run game's a huge part of it. Those perimeter tags are really extensions of our run game based on how they're fitting things and things that we can't control in the run game. Those become ways that we control maybe overhang defenders or safeties. So it's a huge part of what we do, even though they might not all be, 15, 20-yard gains.
So before we get to the next part of that, so they're talking about the quick passes to the outside and how that's an extension of the run game. And it is. We've talked about that. It is an extension of the run game, and it does help spread that offense out, which in turn opens up the middle of the field for Jalen Wright. But again, when your offensive line is not winning their matchups, when you've got 5-on-3 or you've got a tight end in there blocking and you've got 6-on-3 or 6-on-4 and you still can't create a running lane for Jalen Wright, that's a huge problem. But then you also get a little inside baseball there as Heupel goes on to say, when you're taking shots down the field, you have to hope that protection holds up. That's a conversation. A lot of you guys, I see you guys in the chat having these conversations that when we're saying we need to take more shots, we need to throw more deep balls, you guys in the chat are saying you can't because we can't protect, we can't keep the quarterback clean. So I know everybody's worried about Joe Milton. Everybody's ready for the Nico show. We got a huge problem on the offensive line, boys, a huge problem. Now, can you patch that up? If you get Cooper Mays back healthy, you get Gerald Mincey, you get his head on straight, can they patch that up? Can they improve going forward? I feel like we still have big question marks out there because, yes, Tennessee, they sucked. They struggled against the Gators. They lost. It's over. You move on. Wipe the slate clean and move on to the next. But there's always this lingering doubt and questions. What does that look like if you've got Gerald Mincey dialed in? What does it look like if Cooper Mays is back healthy? Will he be back for UTSA, or is it more like South Carolina? Let's hear the second part of this question that Brent Hubbs adds on here.
Is our defenses playing you different in any way? I know you guys in your run game, it's a lot about counting numbers in the box, and you're trying to get single safety looks and man coverage and these type of things. Are defenses playing this offense? Have you seen different looks defensively through the first 3 games than you saw last year?
Maybe a little bit at times. Not different looks than what we've seen and what we've done.
Sure. I mean, I don't mean to say somebody's figured you out. That's not what I mean. But
no, I'm just
are
saying,
they playing you differently?
No, I think each week kind of becomes its own identity. We always prepare, but have what we think their adjustments can be off of it. How do we adjust to some of those things? And then there's always things that transpire during the course of the game too. And we've typically handled that pretty well as a staff, trying to put our guys in the best position to be successful. Every offense is different. You got a bunch of guys that are playing for the first time in what we're doing. And when I say that, you got John Campbell, you got Dre at left guard, you got a new center, right? You got a new tight end. There are some new faces. We got to do the ordinary things within our offense at a really high level for us to be as consistent as we want to be, moving the football and then ultimately scoring. And some of that can be driving it. Some of it can be big plays. And at the end of the day, we all got to be a little bit better.
So, again, Brent Hubbs asks, are these defenses, are they figuring you out? They playing you a little different? Heupel says, no, not really, kind of seeing the same type of thing. So what's the problem? Who does he go to? He immediately starts talking about the offensive line. He mentions by name John Campbell, Andrej Carrick, Ollie Lane having to come in and play center. We got a huge problem on the offensive line. He's talking about new guys coming in, and not to jump ahead and look at 2024, but we got a big problem when we look into 2024. When you look across this offensive line, John Campbell Jr., redshirt senior. Andrej Carrick can come back. He's a junior. Cooper Mays, senior. He's got a COVID year. Does Cooper Mays come back? Listening to the VolQuest podcast this morning, certainly doesn't sound like Cooper Mays wants to play another year of football. Javonte Spraggins, senior. Jeremiah Crawford, senior. Dane Davis, senior. Jackson Lampley, Ollie Lane, all seniors. This offensive line is full of seniors. And when you look down the depth chart, you look down the roster, you got a couple of freshmen in there, Vyson Lang, Aiden Bussell, Shamrod Umarov. Are you really going to count on those guys to come in as redshirt freshmen or sophomores, whatever the case may be, and be able to contribute? You've also got a couple of redshirt freshmen on this team, Mo Clipper, Masai Reddick, Addison Nichols. Also got a sophomore, a JUCO transfer, Larry Johnson III. How many of those guys are ready to contribute to this football team? Because, again, this same conversation was coming up on the VolQuest podcast about the offensive line, and looking ahead to next year, you're going to have to go heavy in the transfer portal, because listening to them, and who knows how this offensive line develops. Maybe Glenn Ellerby gets some of these guys ready. But they seem to have the opinion that only maybe Shamrod Umarov is ready to contribute. Maybe Addison Nichols, does he slide in there at guard? Because it sounds like Vyson Lane could be your center next year. But they have zero depth on the offensive line in 2024. But I just thought it was interesting points listening to Josh Heupel talk about the struggles in the run game against Florida, talk about the offense and the play calling and why they're doing what they're doing, and it all comes back to one position group, and that is the offensive line. I know some of you guys are ready for Nico. I'm not necessarily against that, but Josh Heupel has a bigger problem on his hands, and that's up front with the offensive line. Jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. As always, appreciate you guys tuning in. Smash the thumbs up on the way out the door. Go check out the merch. The link to that is in the description below. And shout out to all the members of the channel. You guys do pay the bills around here. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the way that you guys support what we are building around here. If you want to be a part of it, hit that join button down below. $1. That's all I'm asking. If you guys have it in your budget to donate $1 a month, keep this thing running full steam ahead, I would greatly appreciate it. If not, that's cool. Smash the thumbs up because it's quick, free, and easy. Jump over here to the comment section. Let's talk some Tennessee football, because this is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.